After an exciting week one of college football, week two has a giant game slated between Michigan and Oklahoma and a slew of other exciting games that we're going to talk about next here on the College Huddle. And joining me this evening here on the College Huddle is the host of our newest member here at the College Huddle. This is Jerry from the Rabid Wolverine Football Podcast. Jerry, welcome to the College Huddle.
Eric, thanks for having me on. You know, I love talking football with you.
Yeah, so if this face looks familiar, if you've been watching our episodes in order, Jerry, yes, he's also the host of Three Glasses of Whiskey of football podcast as well. Was just on with us over the weekend, but he runs a Michigan podcast and called the Rabid Wolverine, which is gaining a lot of steam here recently, and became our official Michigan representative here at the College Huddle. Jerry, tell everybody about your podcast, where they can find you, and kind of the feel and flavor you have over there at the Rabid Wolverine.
Absolutely. So obviously I started the podcast because on my other podcast, the Three Glasses of Whiskey College Football Podcast, I can't just go on and rant and rave about Michigan every week. I try to change it up. So this is my outlet for me to voice my fandom for the Michigan Wolverines. Really, the podcast is all from a fan's perspective. You know, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just crazy about Michigan football since I was a little kid, and I follow it as close as I possibly can. And you know, sometimes when I listen to some other podcasts, I love listening to them to get information, but I'm all about like trying to be fair and balanced when I'm presenting, even if I love one of the teams. So my show is always going to be pretty fair and balanced. Um, we dig deep into each game, what to expect in the games. We do injury reports. You know, in the off season, we'll be talking about recruiting news and so forth. So I'm pretty excited, and like you said, it's only been up and going for like 3 weeks, but we're starting to get a quick following, which makes me excited. And all of you can follow us at on YouTube, the Rabid Wolverine Football Podcast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere you find podcasts. We're on the website for Three Glasses of Whiskey. Obviously, we're super excited to be with the College Huddle, and I appreciate you inviting us to join that. So we look forward to all of you giving us a listen. And if you like what you hear, subscribe and share it with your friends.
Yeah, if you're a Michigan fan, you absolutely need to go follow Jerry at the Rabid Wolverine. We'll put his link to his YouTube channel here in the show notes below us so that you can go do that. Even if you're not a Michigan fan, I might have been the first Ohio State fan to follow your podcast. I don't know.
Really? I love it.
I might have.
Eric, you know, I always jump onto yours because I love hearing what you and all of your partners and your fans say. So, you know, it's great to hear both sides, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's dive into this football game, Jerry, between Michigan and Oklahoma. Give me a quick synopsis of how you felt Michigan did in week one against New Mexico. Some takeaways. Obviously, Underwood, the true freshman, got the start. He won the starting job, got the first start. Seems like a lot of people, at least in the fan base that you do a podcast for, were very happy with his initial first start as a Wolverine. But maybe give me some of the things maybe that came out of that game that you might be concerned about as well.
Absolutely. So all the questions you asked, we did a show right after the game, and some of this came up. So I'm going to start with Underwood because he is the story this year for Michigan. And I'll tell you what, he looked the real deal. He looked the part. It was hard to realize he was only a freshman, and that was his first game. Um, he made some incredible throws. I think he ended up going like 21 for 31, but he must have had 5 drops. He probably had 5 passes that weren't exactly where they should have been, but they had a lot of drops. So he looked the part. I don't think they've unleashed him to his full capability. For example, they didn't start running him, and he definitely has some wheels on him. But they did let him throw some passes. I think a telling play was, you know, Michigan started losing momentum at one point in the game, and it was third down, long, and most people thought they were just going to hand it off right and punt it. They let him drop back, and he threw a strike down the middle to another freshman. Maybe it's a redshirt freshman, Shannon Goodwin. But anyway, I think that like play epitomized what we have on our hands. And another play that I thought really epitomized him was they were down on the goal line and they did a run play, and he went out and tried blocking a linebacker. Now he made the linebacker look small. He is built like a brick house. And personally, I think we found our quarterback. I was so excited for how he played. I think he's going to live up to the hype. And in fact, he played so well that it's given me a lot of hope against Oklahoma. Because as you know, when we
Ooh.
talked earlier in the year, I was like, he's going to take his bumps and bruises, and he will. But I really have a lot of faith in him. So in regards to Underwood, I think he's the real deal. Michigan also ran the ball pretty well. I mean, Justice Haynes exploded for two long runs. He had like 150 some yards, like almost like 9.9 yards a carry or something like that. But here's what I'll tell you. I think one of the hidden stats was, they had those big runs. But if you take those two big runs out, I wasn't too impressed with the running game because of the offensive line.
Mm.
I don't think the offensive line played bad, but they're going to need to step it up against Oklahoma because Oklahoma has a great defensive line. So that was one area that, you take out those big runs. It's easy to say they pounded the ball, but you take out those two big runs and it looked more average and every day. The other concern, like I love Michigan's defense, and I think we're going to be great. And one of the great things on their defense this past week against New Mexico, they played 31 different players on defense. And they had first year freshmen going in and making big plays. That was a positive. But what sort of worried me was the way that New Mexico threw the ball on them. They threw for over 200 yards. Now they knocked that quarterback for New Mexico laying around, but he made some passes and completed them to his wide receivers and tight ends. And as you know from our original discussion, one of my concerns is Michigan's D backs. And if their defensive line doesn't step up, I'm a little worried. So,
Yeah. All right, that's a good synopsis of where Michigan is at. Let's talk big picture here. This is the last game before Sharon Moore has a 2-game suspension uh, for this season, and I think he has an additional game next season. But that seems to be the only really outside of the financial penalty that that will be enforced from that will affect this football team
right.
from the end of the Jim Harbaugh era. We're not going to dive into any of that. It's pointless looking at that for this week and beyond. But Sharon Moore, like it seems like the fan base, from what I gather, is super high on him, despite what I guess some could argue was kind of a lackluster season last year after a national championship in 2023, 8-5 overall. But he did beat Michigan and he did beat Alabama to finish the season off. So, that being said, what is your confidence in Sharon Moore and this coaching staff going into a big game like this?
That's a great question. So, first, I agree with you. I think Michigan fans are excited about Moore, and I think it's even more exciting to hear that the players are excited about him. And I think he is a pretty good recruiter. So I'm not going to say anything bad on that front. What I will say is, last year they had to have known that they had a quarterback problem before the season started, and I'm just surprised they didn't address that more in the offseason before last year and it became apparent. But I think to some degree, he needs to go out and win a game like this. It's going to mean a lot to him personally since he played at Oklahoma He was an
Hmm.
offensive lineman. But from my perspective, yeah, he beat Penn State and he ran the ball 32 times straight on the ground. And that's what everybody's like, oh, that was so gutsy and so forth. But last year was a little bit of a disappointment from a fan, right? Like 5 losses doesn't cut it for me. I expect much more than mediocrity. And I think, I don't think he made an impact to the game's coaching last year. I think, frankly, that game against Ohio State, you know, Coach Wink is the one that really impacted that game
Hmm.
with the way he called his defense and had that team ready to play on defense. And then same for the Alabama game, frankly. So I think he does have something to prove. I like Sharon Moore, but I'm not on the Sharon Moore train yet until we see what he does this year and next year. So I think we do need to give him a little bit of time to establish himself. But I think the jury's still out. I think this game is huge for him personally. I think it's huge for the team, especially since they're not going to have him in the building for 2 weeks. And I think it's important for the season. I think if they can go into Oklahoma and pull out a win, that's something that they can ride the rest of the season. So
Yeah. If he wins, are you going to jump on the train?
not yet.
Even if
No,
he beats Oklahoma?
not yet. I look. One game isn't a career, right? And
Right.
last year, I mean, he had you know in the championship year, he did a great job when he filled in, and he didn't do a bad job last year. But I think there was still some improvement from his part of it, right? They needed improvement on the team, but they also needed improvement with him as a head coach. And so I hope he learned a lot last year to apply to this year. But one game against Oklahoma, hey, he can win that game. If he loses the rest, what good did it do, right? Um, I'll judge him more at the end of the season and after they play Ohio.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's talk about this game, man. Um, if you are concerned about your secondary, I imagine that you are very concerned about Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer. Had a very good first game, 30 of 37 passing, 392 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And um, I've actually heard some people say if he gets the win and looks good against Michigan, he might be in the early running for Heisman. Started his career at Washington State, where he was redshirted and then set behind last year's quarterback from Miami when he was there, Cam Ward, I think. Yeah, right? Cam Ward. And then got his chance to start as a redshirt sophomore last year and then transfers to Oklahoma. And this seems to be a young man who this Oklahoma coaching staff are kind of riding on having a really good year to try to get them back to where the Sooner faithful feel that they should be so that they don't get ran out of town.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Oklahoma's quarterback situation last year was very similar to Michigan's quarterback situation, except theirs could run. And well, unless Orgy was in there, ours couldn't run. So it was very similar. And I think Mateer was such a big get for Oklahoma in the portal because the guy can play. He can move it with his legs, he can sling it with his arm. He is a legit quarterback. And you're right. He if they win, that he will be in the Heisman talk, especially if he plays well. Um, and deservedly so. He's a really good quarterback. Um, I think what's interesting, Eric. I'm not going to try to go off topic too much here, but I find this fascinating. I think these teams are in some ways mirror images of each other. I mean, they both have new quarterbacks to rejuvenate offenses that really struggled last year. They both have quarterbacks that can run and throw the ball. Um, they both have good running backs. Now, especially for Oklahoma, they're getting Ott back, so that's going to help them a lot. He only had one carry last week. They both have offensive lines that have question marks on them. Um, so there are just so many similarities on the offensive side of the ball. Now, I will say, Oklahoma, I think they're getting their two offensive linemen back that were injured last week that didn't play. So that's going to help them out on the offensive line. But even on the defensive side of the ball, they both have very deep defensive lines that are very similar to one another, and they both have good linebacking cores. And it's just amazing how they sort of like mirror each other. And you were talking about passing the ball against Michigan's secondary. I actually think they're going to try to establish the run first. Um, I think that's going to be what they try to do against Michigan. I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Ott, the running back. And I'll tell you what, whoever wins that line of scrimmage on offense and defense, they're going to win this game.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Any concern about the fact that this one is going to be played in Norman, Oklahoma? Obviously, that home field advantage seems to be what Vegas is kind of leaning on a little bit here.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were just talking about the line before we got on, and that line's moved since the beginning of the week, and it keeps moving more in favor of Oklahoma. So yeah, Norman, Oklahoma, that's a tough place to play. I mean, it's going to be great to see Boomer Sooner go out and go around the field. That's always exciting, like one of the great traditions in sports. But I think it's going to be loud. I think it's going to be obnoxious. But I will say this, from my podcast, I've been getting a lot of OU fans commenting on some of my videos, and they just seem like a class act. So hats off to all the OU fans. They just seem classy. But I do think that place is going to be crazy on Saturday night, and that is going to impact the game. And I think that's where Underwood's really going to get tested. I mean, he's not playing New Mexico this week.
Yeah.
He's playing a really good team at a hostile environment. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him, but I do think he's up for that task.
Yeah, I've interacted with in person with the Oklahoma fans before in here in Ohio, and when Ohio State had a home and home with them. This is back when Baker Mayfield was their quarterback, and yeah, they were a fun group of people. They weren't nasty, dirty. They were a lot of fun. Kind of similar vibe a little bit to Nebraska fans a little bit. But obviously, you ask Nebraska and Oklahoma fans about each other, and they can't stand
Yeah.
each other. So I think it's very similar to Ohio State, Michigan fans. They're very similar. They just don't want to admit it. um,
Um,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember that game that you were talking about when Baker was there,
Yeah,
and it just seems like their fan base has a complete look. I don't know Mayfield from the person next to me, but his antics on the field seem complete opposite of the Oklahoma fan base.
I think it did feel that way a little bit, but they leaned into it. We saw a lot of chef's hats for Baker. That was the thing that they were doing then. But anyways, yeah, they were a pretty good fan base. Um, so let me have you answer these couple questions before we dive into our predictions for the weekend.
Okay,
If Saturday night at the end of the night Michigan is victorious, it'll be because
they ran the ball and they stopped the run. I think that's what it's coming down to. I think if Michigan runs the ball, that's going to make it a lot easier for Underwood, first of all. So if they are successful at running the ball, Underwood's going to have a better game. I think they're going to eat up clock that way. And if they can shut down Oklahoma's running game, including Mateer with his legs, um, they're going to make them one dimensional. And then that defensive line can attack, get pressure on them, hopefully cause them to throw a few picks, and they'll win that game.
if we wake up Sunday morning after a Michigan loss, your biggest concern for the team will be what?
Offensive line. Offensive line without question. I said it earlier. I think this is going to be a real test for our offensive line. It's one thing to run the ball against New Mexico, but Oklahoma has a legit defense. They may have, I may go so far to say is they have the best defensive front in the SEC and probably top 5 in all of college football, defensive linemen.
Mm.
So if Michigan's offensive line gets manhandled, That's going to be a big part of the story as to why they lost.
Interesting. Okay. All right, Jerry, let's dive into our predictions here. Now, I am going to preface this for everybody. I did really good in week 0. I went 3-2 against the spread in week 0, just missing out on going 4-1, but 3-2. And then last week I fell completely on my face. I went 1-4. So right now I'm sitting at a unimpressive 4-6 on the season here against the spread. But I also, how we do this, Jerry, is we go through this list of games, and we're allowed to pick the same game except for one. So if we disagree on one, then we're good. But if we agree on all four, by the end you get to pick which one you want, and I have to go the other way. So we're going up head to
All right.
head. So I'm 1-1 against the guests so far this year. We'll see how we do, Jerry, in this one. So
So
I'm gonna let you.
before we pick these, I have to
Yeah,
toot my own horn here. I don't
yeah.
do this often, but last year on 3 glasses of whiskey, I was 50, 24, and 1 against the number.
Woo, that's good.
I've never done that before. I'm not going to act like I do that every time. But this past weekend, so I didn't pick any in week 0. This past weekend, I was 2-3 on my show for the pick.
Okay.
So
So yeah,
Notre
you were.
Dame, Clemson killed me there. So
Me as well. Yes, I had Notre Dame and Clemson both with the over, and I had a nice little parlay of overs between Ohio State, Clemson, and Notre Dame, and I felt really confident. And it was a $20 bet that would have paid out $163.
oh my.
And I was like, man, I think I might win this. And then Clemson, and then Notre Dame, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, um, number 15 Michigan at number 18 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is getting 6.5 here, man, at the home. This feels and this number, like you mentioned, is moving towards Oklahoma more and more. Since you're the Michigan man here, I will let you pick first.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're probably gonna take that under.
So here's what I would say. When we first talked, I thought this was absolutely a win for Oklahoma back in August when you and I first talked about some of these matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Um, after seeing Underwood play, I think Michigan can win this game. With that being said, I'm not sure that they will, but they will not lose by 6.5 points. So I'll take Michigan with the 6.5.
I'm going to take the under as well. So I feel like that's Vegas just begging us to do that. So I'm going to be a sucker and say thank you very much. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm with you on that one. All right, this one's got another little bit of a Big Ten flair here. I'm kind of surprised. Yes, I know Iowa State went overseas and defeated Kansas State, uh, and then got ranked because they were unranked at the time. Then came home and won an easy game against a nobody last week. So they're 2-0. Iowa didn't look great, but it was very typical Iowa last week. These games are usually nip and tuck. They are low scoring, defensive struggles here. Um, Iowa State's the one that's ranked here, and it's in Ames. 2.5. 2.5 is what Vegas is giving the Cyclones here. Jerry, I'm going to go ahead and take the under. I think Iowa. I think Iowa's the stronger roster. I know people think Iowa State has a chance to win the Big 12. I agree with that. I just feel like the Hawkeyes here, man, they got a little bit of pride on this one. I feel like Iowa can. Maybe it's my Big Ten homer in me. I don't know, but I'm taking Iowa. Give me the under.
Well, I'll tell you the good news. We're not going to have to argue over a different game
Okay.
because I think Iowa is going to cover the -2.5. So I'll take Iowa. I'm sorry. Iowa State will cover the -2.5. I'll take Iowa State. Here's my breakdown. Like, I actually think Iowa is going to have a good year this year, but Gronowski, I thought he was going to come out and play pretty well. In
Yeah, he
week,
didn't look good.
he did not look good. And what was ironic is, um, so in my real life outside of podcasting, I have a mentor that played for Iowa, right? And he played back like when they had Chuck Long and all that. And he told me he didn't think they would look good. And I'm like, how can you say that? He goes, something looks out of sync on that team.
Mm,
And that sort of took me back. I said, I think they're going to do good with the new quarterback. And we got into a discussion. And lo and behold, maybe he was right. I don't know.
mm.
But I'm going to take Iowa State because one, they're at home. Two, that's probably built into that number, right? Otherwise, they're probably close to a pick 'em, right? Would you agree?
I
But
agree.
there's something about Iowa State when they're down and out, everybody writes them out, and then they always come back and they have a decent year. So I'm going to take Iowa State in this game.
I should have mentioned that's a typo up there in the Michigan Oklahoma. It's a 7:30 kick, but it's on ABC, not Fox. My apologies. 12 p.m. kick for Iowa State on Fox. That's the big noon kickoff on Fox this week. All right, our third game is the Baylor Bears at number 17 ranked SMU. So we're going to play this one in Dallas down there. It's a 12 p.m. kick on the CW. First time I've had to put that in the graphic this year. The Mustangs getting 2.5 here at home. You get to go first on this one, Jerry.
All right. Well, you know why I'm rattling these off so quick? Because I picked 4 of the 5 games that you have on the screen on my show.
Okay,
so so I'm pretty familiar with the matchups.
nice.
In this matchup, I'm going to take SMU minus the 2.5. I think this is going to be a really high scoring game. I think both offenses are going to shine. But here's the thing: I don't think Baylor's going to be able to run the ball, nor will they be able to stop SMU from running the ball. I also think SMU's quarterback's going to have a big day uh, throwing. So I'm going to take SMU, giving the points.
I am not a big believer in SMU, but I'm also not a big believer in Baylor. And usually in games like this, if you give me less than a field goal on a home team who I think is better, I'm going to take it. So I'm going to agree with you. Let's take the over. I'll take the Mustangs on this one. So we'll take SMU on the over. I'll agree with you on that one. The game I'm super interested in. A lot of people don't know how good that this rivalry used to be, especially in basketball. If you are a college basketball fan, Kansas and Missouri basketball was a heated rivalry back in the old Big 8 days.
Yeah.
We're talking long time ago. I saw plenty of those old 1980s basketball games when I was growing up as a kid between Kansas and Missouri. Missouri fans cannot stand Kansas. And so this is a big game for them. Uh, they renovated their stadium. They're opening up against an old rival here. 3:30 p.m. kick on ESPN. To Missouri had a really kind of a letdown year last year after a tremendous season in 2023 in the SEC. They're hoping for a bounce back. They need this win big time. Kansas has looked awful good so far this year. They played a week 0 game at home against Fresno State, and I thought that was a game where Fresno State could cause some trouble, and they didn't at all.
Mhm.
Kansas had their way with that. Speaking of Heisman hopefuls, Daniels, the quarterback at Kansas, has looked very good so far this year. He's got a name for himself. This is a big moment for him. If he can go into Columbia, Missouri, and take down the Tigers, Kansas all of a sudden is for real in the Big 12. And they're talking about Daniels maybe leading Kansas to a really good year and possibly a trip to New York City. This is a big number, Jerry. 6.5. If this was 3 or less, I'd probably be tempted to take Missouri. But I think Kansas is riding a hot hand. And I think they've got a really good quarterback. And I like that under. I'm going to hammer the under on this one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Great minds think alike, my friend. So you nailed it. Kansas has been playing really well this year, and Jaden Daniels, man, he's fun to watch. He is a
Yeah.
quarterback that's fun to watch, and if he doesn't turn that ball over, look out because he can make the throws and he can run with his legs. He's an exciting player, And you know what? It's cool to see a school like Kansas have that mojo this year. I guess they're in a new stadium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And, the fans are there making noise. It's great to see that. We have Big 12 versus SEC here. Um, I agree with you. I'm shocked by the line at Missouri minus 6.5. So I'm going to take Kansas as well. I actually think Kansas is going to win this game outright.
Mm.
So
Excellent. All right. One of the things we have a very strong contingent of here in the College Huddle is the G5 schools, man. The G5 Hive podcast and all of the G5 schools who we've gone out, as you can see in the map behind me here. We have a ton of G5 podcasts representing their schools, man. And so this is a very exciting, fun Conference USA game here, folks. Liberty and Jacksonville State are two of the more powerful teams in Conference USA. Liberty, of course, went to a New Year's Bowl a couple years ago. They are kind of the if you talk to the other G5 schools, especially the ones in their conference, they're the little rich boys of the conference, is who Liberty is in their minds. They just have more money to throw at their program than a lot of these schools. Jacksonville State is an FCS school that has moved up and has done very well for themselves. They played in the Conference USA Championship game last year and just fell and actually won the conference last year. So you have a former conference champion, a conference champion from a year ago going head to head. Jacksonville State lost their season opener by only 7 points to Big 12's UCF, where Liberty won theirs. This one is going to be played in Jacksonville, but Liberty on the road getting 6.5. Jerry, I'll let you pick, and I'm assuming this is the one you did not have on your podcast.
you are right. Before I pick, I'm going to say that is very cool that the College Huddle has a lot of interest from the the five
G5, yeah, group of five
yeah.
schools.
I think that's really cool. So I think I'm glad they're getting some love, right? So
Yeah, trying to throw some love their way,
I
yes.
think that's awesome. So I in all honesty, I'm not real familiar with Jacksonville State. I am more familiar with Liberty due to the fact that over the last couple of years they've had a pretty good program. But I think the team that I knew probably isn't the team it is today. With that being said, on this one, I have a feeling. Look, if they're giving them, if Liberty is giving Jacksonville State 6.5 at Jacksonville State, in my mind, this is a 9 or 10 point game probably. So I'm going to actually take Liberty giving Jacksonville State the points.
Okay. I'm with you. I'm going with the over on this one with Liberty, man. They've rebuilt really well. They have rebuilt really well. They've hit that portal really well. They've developed well. I think that Conference USA, if I was was my feet were held to the fire, I would say it's going to come down to Western Kentucky and Liberty this year. I'm a huge Western Kentucky fan due to their podcast. Love those guys over there. Shout out Topper Talk. And they were great. They came to the shoe a couple years ago. We had a good time working together. I think that's what that conference is going to come down to. And so I'm going to take Liberty, and I'll take the points there. Give me Liberty and an outright win. So Jerry, if I'm counting right, we agreed on 4 of the 5. We took the under in the Michigan Oklahoma. We disagreed on Iowa State. You took the over with Iowa State. I took Iowa with the under. We both took SMU the over against Baylor. We both took Kansas in the under against Missouri, and then we both took Liberty in the over against Jacksonville State. Did I get that right?
You got it right, my friend.
Beautiful. So yeah, so have fun with this. I know it's not a super, like last week we had Ohio State, Texas, we had Clemson, and we had LSU, we had Notre Dame, and we had Miami, and those were 3 games, all like top 15 teams in the AP poll. That was in week 1. That was just really mind-blowing to see that in week 1. So week 2, we don't have as much. Typically, week 2 is when you see the bigger non-conference games happening, a la Michigan, Oklahoma. I know next year Ohio State plays Texas in week 2 as opposed to week 1. But still enjoy this weekend. This is a good little slate of games, Jerry, and you know, I'm super stoked about Michigan, Oklahoma. I'll be sitting out if the weather's good. I'll be sitting out on the deck, smoking a cigar, enjoying a nice little fire in the fireplace, and rooting for Boomer Sooner, baby.
Oh, you're killing me. I was gonna say I was going to send you some cigars or give them to you when we hook up later on
I owe you
this
some
season,
cigars
but
still, man.
I'll still give you some cigars, my friend. But
Well, how about this, buddy? How about this? Since we are going head to head, and really is going to come down to one game, the loser this week will send the winner a cigar.
deal.
All right, that
We're
sounds like
talking about our picks or the Michigan Oklahoma game.
our picks. Our picks.
Deal. I will definitely. You know what I'm going to send you? I don't want to get into all kinds of cigar talk, but I had this new cigar about a month ago called My Father Blue. Oh, and that just because the
I know what
name
you're talking
Blue,
about.
it's coming to you, buddy.
Oh
No,
yeah.
all kidding. It's like Tiffany color blue, not Michigan blue, but it's a great smoke. And if I lose, I'm more than happy to send you one, buddy.
I just had a now it's the names. It's got a the name of it. The cigar's got like a flower on it with petals. It's the name slipped my mind, but it's pink label and it's 13th year edition, and it was so good. Oh man, it was so good. And of course they don't have them anymore. You know, it was they won't have them until they go to like the 15th, 16th year edition or whatever. And of course they change.
Yeah.
But it was really really good. But yeah, I'll send you. Well, I'll bring some with me when I see you in
Nope,
Pittsburgh. You know.
don't bring them. I got us taken care of when you come. So don't
Okay,
bring them.
buddy.
I got us taken care of. But Eric, there's nothing better than sitting on a patio or deck, nice cocktail or drink in your hand, whatever your beverage of choice is, even if it's lemonade, right?
Right.
Watching the game, smoking a cigar, a fire going. It's one of the pure pleasures. If you're not tailgating at the game, that's the next best thing.
Yeah, yeah. My wife and I are into that, man. We sit there on the deck and here in the fall, we got a nice fire going and we're watching football, man. It's one of those guilty pleasures that we enjoy. So,
I love
Jerry,
it.
this has been a lot of fun, man. I have appreciated you jumping on here and talking Michigan with me, man. Again, tell everybody where they can find the Rabid Wolverine Football Podcast.
All right. Rabid Wolverine Football Podcast on YouTube, Instagram. I'm sorry, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you find podcasts, we're there. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, and then we have a website, threeglassofwhiskey.com. So, Eric, I can't thank you enough for having me on the show. You know I love talking ball. So anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
Thank you, brother. Well, I'm sure we'll talk again at some point. I know, if not before, I'll see you that last weekend of November.
Absolutely. We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun.
Absolutely. Now, Jerry, I usually end every College Huddle podcast by saying the teams.
Eric, you're off the hook, buddy.
Can't do it. So I'm gonna let you close out the show, my friend. Go for it. Do your thing.
Go blue.